Oh, this is gonna be a good one. I can already tell I'm gonna mess this one up.
Already did.
Already did. It started late.
Jesus, mighty.
Where's Dave?
Dave's not here.
Sorry, John, but
John, we did say we were professionals, right?
No,
Just forget about
we
that.
said we were not.
Oh, okay.
I told him we tried. We tried. That's with the capital T. Well, let's just put it
Yeah.
all in caps lock. We try.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
All right. Matt, you got it out of your system.
Button.
We're already live, bud.
No. I mean the start button.
Oh.
Intro music.
All right, here we go. Welcome to Creative Makers Podcast, episode 133. I'm Joey with Steelblade Woodworks, joined by our host Matt with Wackey Works, and the mustache. God dang thing. The wooden mustache, and Steve I from Steve I Designs. This, you changed something in that today. Something's changed.
I didn't change anything, man.
Anyhow, and we also got a special guest, Jon from Severn View Custom Woodworks. How y'all doing today?
Hello.
Apparently a little bit better than you.
Thanks for
Hey,
having me.
Mustache, don't you have something to do?
Yeah, I guess so.
Here we go.
I would love to shout out some randomly picked out patrons that are helping us keep the lights on and supporting the show. And I will start us off with Jeff from Fitzsimmons Custom Woodworks, JR from Trey Studios, who's in the background, man in the stage, and Steve from S. Bruns 6. We thank you three and all the rest of our patrons. And if you want to join them, we got a giveaway today. We won't let you enter if you're not a member already. But if you want to join our Patreon, you can go over to supportcmp.com and tell them I sent you.
All right. We're going to try and get this back on track a little bit here. So today's guest is Jon Bullough. He's the owner and operator of Severn View Custom Woodworks. Jon is a Navy veteran and graduate of Duke University. After years of living up and down the East Coast, Jon and his family put down roots in the Annapolis area in 2018, where they built the life and the business. We're excited to welcome Jon Bullough from Severn View Custom Woodworks to Creative Makers Podcast. So, welcome.
Thank you so much.
Welcome.
It's good to be with you guys. Thanks.
Thank you.
So, Jon,
Thank you.
why don't you let those in the audience who are not familiar with you just a little bit about you?
Yeah. So, like you said, I've kind of had a interesting career. Been in the Navy, been in some other things, and kind of started my woodworking journey more than 5 years ago. I'm not even sure if I could track down which year it was. I probably could. But I've been doing woodworking for at least about 5 years, and then took it full time about 2 years ago. So it's been an interesting ride. Kind of getting off of the hamster wheel, I guess a lot of people say, and learning to be an entrepreneur and learning to take risks, and it's exciting. That's all I can really say about it. It's been really, really educational, and it's been a lot of fun.
So, where did you start out? You said you started a couple years ago with the woodworking. Where were you before that?
Before doing woodworking, you mentioned like I had gone to Duke. I got my MBA from Duke University after getting out of the Navy. I came out of business school to go work in finance for a large regional bank up here in the Northeast. I was working in like commercial lending. I kind of felt like I was always pushing myself into a round hole, square peg kind of situation. I left banking, went to go work in another tech company in operations. Started off really good, and it was mostly a good experience, but I could start to see like the writing on the wall that like corporate life and working for a large corporation was not something that I was really wanting to do. And having had some other experiences doing woodworking in my own home, and then seeing some feedback, from people that were close to us and had said like, "Hey, this is really good work." Just kind of got like a couple tips that like, "Hey, like I'm actually maybe onto something here, and maybe it's worth pursuing something more full time."
Are you all self-taught, or did you go take some classes somewhere, or talk about a little bit about your background on how you got?
Yeah, I would love to say I'm self-taught, but I don't know that that's true. I think I'm probably YouTube taught. I'm certainly a kind of handy. I remember like back in high school, if there was any one class that I remember from high school that was impactful to me, it was an auto mechanics class. And at the end of that year, the auto mechanics teacher, when they give out awards to like the class, I got some excellence in auto mechanics, and I was like, wow, I never thought I'd get an excellence in anything, but this was actually really, really fun. I learned a lot in that class. I kind of gravitated towards that type of instruction and working with my hands. And fast forward to, I'm probably 3 years into my marriage. I'm living in Virginia Beach in the Navy, and we were getting ready to, I think, move on to our second. It was actually our final assignment. It was probably 4 years into the Navy at that point, and I had a washing machine that needed to get fixed, and I couldn't figure out what was wrong with it. But that was the first exposure I had to YouTube and like learning what was on YouTube, and I was blown away that I could like look up a specific model of something and find the very specific fix for my issue, and then fix the washing machine, and then I sold it. And I was like, man, that was like mind blowing how cool of the experience that was. And that snowballed into other things over many years of, oh, like I think I can look this up on YouTube and figure out how to do that.
So when you started your business, what were you focused on? What was the business focused on? Are you making custom furniture? Are you making cabinetry? Where was your main focus?
That's a good question, because I think I started off thinking I wanted to make furniture in some way, and I will say credit to like the business school kind of education. I had some idea of like what it would take to be able to sustain a business and earn a living doing something full time. And so probably like many of you or many of your audience have figured out is that like there are certain things that you could make that you can kind of command a certain price for, and there's a limit to that. So making small things, you either have to sell a ton of those small things in order to make a living doing it, or you can sell fewer things for a higher dollar value and actually sustain yourself. So how I got started was, I think probably a popular plan for somebody who wants to do this is they start doing something for close to nothing for other people they know in order to build a portfolio, and kind of build it from there. And that's what I did. I'd done some things for myself, and then in 2023, I had reached out to some other close friends of mine who had mentioned something about built-ins. I said, "Hey, I'd love to do that for you. Would you be open to me doing that for you, basically for the materials?" And there was one other project after that I did for cost, And then it was on to the third project where someone was calling me, and I said, yeah, I mean, I'll do it for this amount.
So that's a
So I
good
did-
segue.
yeah.
I got a question.
Sure.
Like going back to, you said you got feedback that kind of pointed you like, hey, maybe I can make a living off of this. What was the one project that just basically said, okay, I'm going to do this? Is there a specific project that kicked that off?
Yeah, there's probably two. One was the basement I'm in at the moment. This was a complete gut renovation of a basement. First week after we moved into this house, we had a water problem, and was able to get an insurance claim that covered a lot of the costs. But I didn't find a contractor that I wanted to work with for over a year. And I finally turned to my wife and I said, hey, I think I can. One, I'm really frustrated about this situation, but we need to get this done. I think I could do this. And you don't know, I mean, sorry, I didn't say that right. You know that I don't know how to do this. But going back to the YouTube conversation, I know I've done so many things, fixed washing machines, I've fixed engines in cars, I've done all this other stuff. I think I could find the content on YouTube to figure out what I need to do. And that turned into what I thought was going to be a 6-month project, turned into an 18-month project before it was all finished. But the product was really good. And so I was like, that was awesome. I learned so many things about construction, about owning a home, about, a lot of things. The second project was I built a sort of a drop zone mudroom kind of thing in my entranceway, and ripped a wall out where a closet was and made that kind of like the centerpiece of, the entranceway. And we had some, neighbors that came through and had asked my wife, like, who did this? Like, this is really great work. She's like, oh, my husband did this. I remember showing a coworker of mine at the time when I worked at the tech company. I was showing him photos along the way, and when I showed him the final photos, he was like, holy smokes, man, like, where did you learn to do this? So I think it was just a couple of those touch points where it was like, maybe I'm actually better at this than I think I am.
And then the addiction began.
Right.
As my wife would say, she created an animal. Yeah. That's cool. I've done some big projects, and the same thing, I tell my wife, yeah, about 6 months. So she already knows, just like how I add on to my purchases, she's like, okay, so about 1.5 years. And I'm like, come on, man, give me some credit, but she adds on the time, just like I add on the money of my purchases, like we were talking in the back. So,
smart woman.
anybody?
I'm guilty of the same thing. My wife's just like, huh, yeah. 1 week, okay.
So I got a question for you, John.
Sure.
When was it that you made the decision or realized it was time to go from corporate to opening your own business?
What, like, how long did it take me to make that decision? Or
yeah, partially. Like, when was it that you decided that, you know what, I think it's time, I should just open my own business, work for myself? What was it that created that mindset and that transition? And how long was that? Was that 6 months, or was that like 3 years of you thinking, oh, maybe I can start my own business and do something with this?
Yeah, I might give you a little bit longer answer than you were expecting.
No, it's fine.
But I had been thinking, a long time about being an entrepreneur. I know when I was leaving the military and going into business school, I sought the advice of a entrepreneurship professor at Duke, and I sat down with him, when I showed up to campus for the first week, and I was telling him about what I wanted to do, what I had interest in. His advice to me was actually, hey man, I don't normally tell people this because I'm the entrepreneurship professor, but one of the lenses I kind of look through this, situation is, you've got 4 kids and you're not retired from the military, but you have a significant amount of like personal risk or a lot at stake that a lot of like 27-year-olds who are going into business school might not have. And I tell those people, you can take as much risk as you want. You're still going to have the opportunity to mess up and get back on your feet. Situation is a little bit different for you. And so I don't know that I would encourage you to go into this like entrepreneurship program. I was like, my feathers got like really ruffled by that. I didn't like hearing that advice. But I took him, at his word that like he knew what he was talking about. And I went down another path. I studied marketing. I studied, some other things kind of in the business realm. And I tried to go work in marketing. That wasn't like a great fit. And like I was saying, I was trying to fit myself into this mold that I saw all my peers doing, a lot of people chasing money, and a lot of people chasing other things, right? I think it was probably into my second year working for the bank where I went, I just don't really like this. And I remember having conversations with my wife about like, I think I could quit. I think I could quit and do something else, and that turned into a lot of, disenchantment with that job, and then finding another role outside of banking that initially was great. But it was a year into that second job out of business school where I had started Severn View Custom Woodworks as a side hustle, but a formal business. And I remember telling my good friend, who I was working with then, like, hey, I just started this like last weekend. It was like January 9th, of 2023. And like, by the way, I hope you all have, I'm going to drop this guy's name. His name's George Sullivan. He's a really, really good friend of mine from this tech company I used to work at. And today we are still like best friends. I talk to him all the time. Never had a guy like this where I had told him, hey, I started this business. And like maybe 2 weeks later, he shows up at work and he hands me this roll. It's wrapped up. And I'm like, what's this? And I unwrap it. And he had bought me this apron, like a leather apron. I don't even know where he got it, but it was just like seeing somebody else who was invested in what you were trying to do and cared about it. And it really just kind of like, put water on that, that seed that was germinating. And I'm just very fortunate that I've had people like that in my life who have seen probably promise in what I was doing and wanted to like, get behind me and say, hey, I think you should do this.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So what are the main, what is the main thing that you love to do? Like what, I'm assuming that, you know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah. I think we kind of got off track with that one answer. And
No.
what I've gravitated towards now, and I will say it's not just about loving to do it, although I do love to do it. It's a lot about the financial aspect of it as well. And that's building custom cabinets. And it's been a journey of learning kind of what the market is like what can you charge for something that you make. And I've had a lot of good experiences with trying to network with people like designers, and a neighbor of mine who's a designer. I had a kind of a coffee chat with her about a year and a half ago. And I had just finished the biggest project to date that I had done. And she said, hey, would it be helpful if I showed you a quote from a local kitchen and bath, showroom for a bathroom vanity? And I went, absolutely. I would love to see that. And I was blown away at like the number that they had been quoted for a not custom vanity that didn't include the countertop. It's just the cabinet. And then the countertop itself kind of like almost doubled that price. And I was just beside myself, like, what have I been trying to charge people, for this highly custom work that I'm putting a ton of time into, and not really fully understanding the market and what you can charge and not be laughed out of the room, if that makes
Mhm.
sense.
That's always a big problem for everybody, trying to
Mhm.
figure out costs and what you value your work at. I mean, that's got to be a tough thing. And I mean, having custom cabinets built before, I mean, that's an expensive project. You know, it's going to be expensive, but it's trying to find the right person to do it that's not going to give you that shoddy work, and
Right.
I mean,
Right.
we've all seen it, and the nightmares you hear about, and it's always hard because I mean, that's a main focal point of your home. And I mean, that's what everybody's going to see, basically, in my opinion. When you go into a home, that's like most homes are, that's what you see. And then the living room, your open area. And
Right.
that's got to be something, when you're doing it as well as the builder, nerve wracking to make sure that everything is just perfect.
Yes. Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And it goes back to kind of like that point I was making earlier, which is when you choose what do you like to make or what do you want to make in order to sustain yourself doing this as a living. What are items that people are willing to pay several $1,000s for, and cabinetry is one of them. I mean, you could go into even Home Depot, and that's not a high end kind of product, but you're still charging people thousands and thousands of dollars in order to put a not super nice kitchen in. And so there's things that I think, if I'm thinking about like products, if I was trying to make a living doing something in woodworking, it's what are those things that people use every single day? Where are they gathering? And so things like dining room tables, maybe not coffee tables or end tables or nightstands, but what are those things that like have a significant amount of meaning? Families gather in them, around them, and get use every single day. Those are typically, I think, the things that command a higher price point.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking at some
Pricing's
of your.
hard.
Go ahead.
No, that's about all I was gonna say. I mean, I still struggle with pricing, and I mean, I utilize you guys and other people in the community for guidance sometimes, and like we all think that it's too high. It's too high for like what you make and stuff. But I mean, if the quality's there and you want to put your name on it, do it. Do it, because you might not find the right person immediately, but you will down the road. That's going to value what you're asking for.
I just think it's a struggle, especially when you yourself, you're counting on that. You got a family to support, right?
Hmm.
And it's kind of like, man, is this a little too much? Because I want to get the work. I need to have the work. That's why I got into this. But at the same time, you don't want to cut yourself short because your talent. I mean, I'm looking at your portfolio right now, and then it's absolutely amazing, beautiful work.
Thank
I
you.
mean, it is. Uh, and all that comes at a cost. I know that. We've been looking at, potentially building another home, and we're looking at we love, the next, like my wife's kitchen, the kitchen is always going to be, that's where you're going to throw your money into, right? The cabinets, and we're not into that where it's just, how do I explain this? Just frame cabinet doors. We kind of like, having the accents put in there, like the corbels and stuff,
Mhm.
how you see where it makes it look more like a furniture piece on
Right.
the lowers. And those are trying to find people like that around here where I'm at. That's tough. You have to go to a bigger city. And now that just adds more cost, because now they're going to have to, come in and make sure that it's what you, in your mind, to put it down and make it work, you know, and that's kind of segued into what I was going to ask next. What do you use? Like what softwares? I mean, we had a good conversation, I guess 2 weeks ago, and another gentleman that's our friend here that does cabinets. How do you, and maybe you answered this and I just missed it. Do you design this yourself, or do you have somebody that does that for you and then you produce it? How does that work for you?
Yeah, it's a good question. I started off using a program called Fusion 360, which I imagine a lot of you are familiar with 3D printing and other aspects of design. Again, I found on YouTube a great resource where someone was showing how to use Fusion 360 to build a built-in. And I went through that series of videos over and over and over and over again to learn the techniques in order to design cabinets. But you and I all know, like, Fusion 360's super high horsepower piece of software. It's not meant to design cabinets. And when you are building a visual for somebody just to show them a concept, it can take hours and hours and hours of time designing to be able to get to that point. It worked well for as long as I was using that. And you can get fantastic renderings, photorealistic renderings to show a potential client and then go, oh, yeah, like, you know what you're doing, and that is what I want. And so here's my money. Like, being able to put something in front of somebody that's photorealistic and say, this is exactly what it's going to look like, it kind of sells itself. So I will say, like, whatever you use, it's in your benefit to learn how to use some sort of CAD or design software in order to present something visual to a client to say, this is what I'm going to build for you, and give them the opportunity to say, no, actually, I don't like this aspect. Can we go change this? And the communication that happens between you and the customer is such that it builds a lot of trust with them. So since then, I've actually moved on to a program that you've probably heard of called Mosaic, which is specific for cabinetry design. And it's fantastic because what I used to do in Fusion that would take me probably 6 to 8 hours to do, I can do in probably an hour or less. And it's library based. I can drag and drop basically a really kind of default sort of cabinet, drop it into a room, and then modify it very quickly to be what I need it to be. And then that spits out, cut lists. And if you have it connected to other devices like CNCs, it's very easy to go from design concept to manufacturing.
Are you using it for your cam, or just cam?
I will be using it for the cam. I have had several intermediate steps to get where we're heading here very shortly. From just using it to do like the designs and show people, to then taking exported DXF files to a friend who can cut those on his CNC. And that was game changer. When you first time you see a large format CNC cut out the parts for your very large project that would have taken you days, and then do it in hours, you're like, okay, I have to get one of these. This is just like stupid how fast this is.
Yeah.
It speeds the process, less time, more profit for you, and you can move on to something else, right? I mean, automation is always a good thing in that sort. So Jeffrey was talking about that software last week or whatever, and it was amazing. I had no idea that you can actually put the type of hinges or whatever you're doing, and it automatically will spit all that out. It's pretty amazing what it does. Yeah,
it really is, because I would say one of the best features of it is it's not dictating to you how you have to build a cabinet. You set up the parameters in the system to say, this is how I build cabinets. And so if you use things like dados or rabbits a lot, you can set up those parameters to say, when I drop this cabinet in this room, it comes configured like that. So it's customizable to the way that you do things. And I think that's one of the best things about it is like I was saying, you can take something that used to take you a long time, either doing it by hand or some other software, and just really simplify the process and be making more money that way.
So you mentioned you were shipping this off to a friend for his CNC to cut it out. Do you have a CNC, or are you now doing it in-house, or what are you doing with that?
Will be shortly. I was using a friend's CNC. A very, very glad I met this guy. His name's Chris McCormick, and he's the owner of Hatch X, which is he does a lot of things. He does a lot of big things, a lot of exhibit type work, and other, manufacturing processes that he can do all in-house and on very short timelines. So he has a lot of very interested customers who use his services. But I met him at Workbench Con this last year, and we found out that we live basically in neighboring towns in Maryland, and his shop is just like 15 minutes up the road from mine. He was
Nice.
very, very gracious to invite me over to take a look, and even offer to let me use some of his equipment kind of in the interim while I was getting some stuff up and running. But yes, I just with a friend of mine who also does a lot of cabinetry and furniture building. He and I created a joint venture, went out and got a lease on a space, and also purchased a 5x10 CNC to be able to speed all this up. So very blessed and fortunate that I have another person who's like-minded, and we have a lot of the same processes that we can benefit from sharing the space and the equipment.
That's great.
Nice.
great.
Yeah, that is. That's pretty exciting. I mean,
It is, to say the least. It is exciting.
speed you. Is this your first one to have? Is this gonna be the first time using one?
On my own, absolutely, yeah. We had the thing delivered on Wednesday into the shop, and that was nerve-wracking. Like, I think it's interesting when you call some of these CNC companies that there's not more kind of white glove service to get it to you in your space. The deal is like, you buy this super expensive piece of equipment, and then when it shows up, good luck. It's on you to get it off the truck and into your space.
Mm-hmm.
So we
And
hired
what did you get?
Yeah.
What did you get?
We purchased a Shop Saver Pro 510 model, and it's amazing. It's the same thing that my friend Chris over at Hatch uses, and that he's had for more than 10 years. And it was pretty much his recommendation. Like, I've had this thing for so long, and it's only been down one time. And when it was down, it was back up and running in 30 hours. That just kind of sold me right there. Like, okay, I know there's a lot of CNC manufacturers, but when you get someone
that's a
who uses
full-blown. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was gonna say that machine's already put together, so that's a task to get it unloaded. That's a massive machine,
right?
It's not like what us hobbyists do over here, and we get to put ours together.
I think you get a great education probably putting it all together. There's a little bit of assembly required, not much, but that's what's holding us up at the moment is the lead time on a couple other auxiliary pieces of equipment to help it run. So our dust collector is supposed to be arriving tomorrow at some point. We still have to pipe it, and we're still waiting for a couple other pieces to our compressed air system to arrive before we can really be using it. So, but it's in its place. It's powered. It's just, we're chopping at the bit to get it up and running so we can start making stuff.
That's awesome.
I bet.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I just want to go back to pricing for a second, and
Sure.
it's always a topic. And I had an experience where I did some custom vanities, for a multi-million-dollar home. They had they told me the price of what they paid for the cabinets for their kitchen, which was almost $100,000. And I went and looked at them, and I was just like, I thought that everybody used Baltic birch. Everybody uses the high quality stuff. So my stuff's all Baltic birch, and it's all, the front faces are all one solid piece of hickory that's been cut out. So it looks, and theirs was not. And the guy came to me and said, if I did my cabinets your way, I would lose my hind end. I couldn't build them flat for that. And I'm thinking so how do you go against apples and oranges when you have somebody else bidding against you, and it literally is apples and oranges of what's being built, because the quality is not, they're using some, regular hinges, you're using European or whatever hinges, you're using high quality stuff, and how do you go against that? I guess that's my thought.
Well, that's a really good question, and I would say I haven't necessarily been in the situation where I've seen a competing bid that I was also competing against. I have had this situation though where somebody, a potential customer, balks at a price and says, "Oh, well, this is this much compared to another project we recently did, and that costs this, and this is like half of that." And so sometimes it's not making a comparison between another bid, but it's in somebody else's mind, why is this so much to begin with compared to something else I had done? And it's an important thing to understand that needs to be communicated, is what you're comparing it to is an apples and orange comparison. Like, if what you did in this other room is not custom work versus a full-blown mud room plus a laundry room, and that is all custom cabinetry, there's a reason why the price of what I'm quoting you is a certain amount versus what you did for this other room, the full build out, and it's just important to know that, like, that's the argument that needs to be made is comparing things like the quality of materials, the quality of hinges, like, and sometimes it's not worth having the argument at all. it's realizing that, like, there's not really anything I'm going to gain from having an argument about it, and just standing on your price and saying, this is what it is, and you can take it or leave it, and I'm happy to even refer you to somebody else. And sometimes the ability just to say, no, I'm not going to compromise on the price because I know what I need to make, for my bottom line. That's really all you need to do. And sometimes that means you lose a job, and a lot of times it means there's another job right behind it someone's going to ask you about, and if you've taken the other one at a lower price, you've already lost the opportunity to work on the other one that would have paid you more.
Okay.
Yeah, Jeff brings up a good point that pricing is a never-ending evolution, constantly changing with material costs and hours for labor and anticipating. I remember when I was doing some professional photography and commercial photography, one of the things that we always just struggle with was pricing. Same thing most people struggle with. And one of the things that I had to come to realization with is that I am not my client. So the type of photography work that I did at the time was a much higher end than anything I could ever afford. So that's another thing that I think is really important for small business owners to keep in mind when they're pricing jobs and everything. You need to price for your materials and your labor and your experience and all those things, and the new CNCs and the spaces that you rent. And sometimes that price gets inflated, and it's out of what you as an individual would even consider paying. But it all comes back around to pre-qualifying your clients and finding your clients and making sure you're, weeding out those folks so you don't have to have those conversations where you put down a quote and that quote might be, 3 times what they had in their mind, but you've already asked those questions at the beginning to kind of get an idea of whether they're even your client. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really important. What you said is you are not your customer, so you can't think that the price that is making you cringe when you're thinking about sending it to them
Right.
is actually worth worrying about. And most of the time you're going to send a number and someone's going to balk at it because they just don't understand. And a lot of those cases, I was just having this conversation a couple of days ago. I think what the goal is in like you're saying, Steve, pre-qualifying somebody is to spend as little time as possible figuring out, are you kind of in this zone of agreement?
Yeah.
And it might not have to be like perfect, but are you close enough that I'm not going to have to spend an inordinate amount of time educating you on why it costs this much? And if there is any negotiation, that is not a significant amount that's going to derail your profitability.
Absolutely. That brings up another good question that Mike had about what are some of the best lessons that you've learned with dealing with customers in relation to making sure that you are on the same page with their vision and making their project happen.
I think it goes back to kind of that design phase before you start building. One, when the first time that you approach a customer or they approach you, what is the conversation that you're having? And I was never a consultant, but I heard this, just this drum beat on me through business school and after business school, working in the corporate, world, which was, don't be the guy who's just there to take orders, or the girl, right? Don't just have someone show up and say, I want this. And you say, yep, I'll have it to you like in 2 weeks. You being able to ask questions about why is that what you're looking for? Like, tell me more about your project. Tell me more about what you're trying to achieve with this project. You sent me these kind of photos that are inspiration photos. Why is this what you think that you're looking for? And having a consultation with that customer, because you've been doing this for a while. They have no idea. They don't even necessarily know what questions to ask.
Mhm.
So you kind of have to lead them through this journey of like exploration. I'm not going to assume that you know why, but I'm going to try to tease that out in the conversation to figure out what is the right thing to be building for you. If you're trying to build something that's a built-in and the room is going to be primarily intended as like a playroom for your small kids, you're obviously looking for some sort of storage for toys, for games, and probably when you've cleaned it up, you kind of want to hide it.
Mhm.
So a bunch of bookshelves is not going to be the best situation for you. You're going to want something that has doors on it, at least in part. And so just like having the conversation where you can kind of consult them. The second phase of that is like, okay, I've taken all the notes from that consultation, and I might even sketch something out on paper with them and say, here's what I'm thinking. Is this kind of like what you are in agreement with? Okay. And then I'll go back and I'll do all the CAD work and then present them something that we've basically discussed at length and use that as the proof of concept, saying, is this the vision that you had for these, 3 or 4 reasons? And then when they say, yes, this is exactly what I want, you might have gone through maybe 1 or 2, maybe 3 iterations of that design phase. It's at that point when you're having them sign a contract and signing initially next to this drawing saying, yes, this is what I want. And then you and I know before we even cut anything, what it's going to look like and why it's going to look like that.
So educating your client, making it easier on you.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
And
that I feel like I was just going to say, I feel like that kind of establishes a little bit of, I don't know if trust is the right word, but that education kind of establishes a little, this guy knows what he's doing. He asked me some pointed questions that I didn't even think about, and, kind of puts you a little higher up in their respect, kind of.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. I mean, and at the same time, I mean, just education, it kind of gives them an idea cost wise, but again, goes back to like what Steve said, find your clientele,
Mhm.
people know that the word custom means it's going to cost, right? You're not buying a Home Depot style cabinet. I
Right.
mean, if you want that thing, that's where you need to go shop. When you're getting to this is, I mean, again, custom. I mean, this is I guess, a statement in your home. I mean, it costs money to build that kind of stuff. And,
Right.
like you said, weeding out those people, or those clients that, I guess just put it, they can't afford to do that kind of stuff. And that saves you a lot of time and headache to have to get into those type of conversations, that you don't need to be in.
Right. Yeah, I definitely think that you have to preserve as much time as you can through knowing who you are targeting, like who is the segment of the market that you're going after. If the whole market is low end, medium, and high end, you're not trying to service every single one of those market or segments of the market. So you have to pick. Like, I want to service, maybe it's in somebody's case the middle of that segment, right? The medium priced customers. And you have a theory about why you want to do that. But that means that you have to exclude the lower and the higher, and you have to be able to have a reason to turn those people away to keep you focused on what you do and do well.
Yeah, 100%.
We have a question down there. Were you bringing up a question?
No, I was just, we were talking about price, and I just threw it up that, Jeff says as a professional cabinet worker, he still can't afford his own work.
Exactly.
Which goes right back to what I was saying earlier. I mean, when I was a professional photographer, I couldn't afford, to pay what it was to shoot a wedding or, a commercial job. It's just not something I was in a position to be able to afford.
Right.
I think so. I think sometimes too, with a conversation with a client, that they're, I think that price is too high. If you lower your price without changing anything, you're saying that your price was too inflated to begin with. So you need,
Right.
well, we can adjust this by taking this away, so the price isn't that high.
Mhm.
Just show them that price is the price.
Right.
You're reducing what's being done to lower the price.
Yeah, I think the real hope, though, is that, as John was talking about, like that consultation, that 15-minute, half-hour conversation at the beginning of your interaction is really to pre-qualify them. And you hope that you don't get to a point where you put that bill in front of them, and, as Matt, you were saying, the $100,000 worth of cabinets in that home, you don't put down a quote for $100,000, and that's 3 or 4 or 5 times more than in their brain what they were thinking of, right? So that's that pre-qualification.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I would say, Joey, like, we've all had those thoughts of like, well, the word custom should signal that this is going to be expensive. And as many times as I think that to myself, the number of times someone reaches out and we start a conversation and they're thinking, I was thinking it would probably be about this. And someone says something basically around the cost of the materials. And you're like, I'm sorry, but that's not feasible. Like, it's just not,
Yep.
The materials that I use alone would cost about what you have budgeted for that project. And we have
Or,
factory labor.
I've done my
That's already weeding them out right away. You already know. Okay. Yeah.
I've done my research. I went and priced them at Home Depot.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
I think an easy way to even bring that up without outright asking is just ask early on in the consultation, do you have a budget already in mind for this project? And if
Yep,
they
that
say,
right
yeah,
there.
I'm looking at spending 12,000 to 15,000, you already know, oh, well, my service for building these kitchen cabinets is going to be, 20,000. So that's already twice what they want. And,
Mhm.
you can very quickly say, I'm not sure I'm the right fit for your project. And if you have someone that does service that, a friend or another business associate, you kick them that way, right?
Exactly. Yeah, you definitely you need to be able to sidestep certain projects, and for various reasons. Sometimes it's not about the price. Sometimes you can look at a project and realize how complicated it's going to be.
Yep.
And sometimes those are exciting. You're like, I want to do that because I do want the experience of something that's really complicated. It's going to teach me something, and I'm going to have more experience of how to do that in the future. And other times you realize, I don't want that. That's going to be a massive headache. And I know when it comes to install that job, I probably can only realistically budget price wise for that customer a certain amount, but I know it's going to take me probably twice as long when I get in there.
Right.
And I'm going to uncover this situation or that. And I've never installed in this particular situation before. And every time that you're doing work that you weren't budgeting, you're working for free. And it's not worth doing.
Is that a conversation? I mean, so I've been in that. It's brand new. It was brand new built, and I thought, well, this is all going to be squared up, and this is all going to be good and right. And there wasn't a square angle in that entire house.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, the walls were bowed in and out, in and out. It was bad. Is that just a change order conversation, or is that a
No, not necessarily. I think that's part of the risk that you take on as a contractor or a maker of something, is you have to plan on what's a reasonable expectation with not a lot of hiccups. And maybe you buffer that with, well, I know there's going to be some hiccups, so I'm going to increase it by this much to try to account for that. But when something starts to take more time, I don't think it's a reasonable thing to go ask somebody for more money unless it's changing the scope completely. Like, hey, we tore into this wall and there's this issue. We really can't even put cabinets right here. Like, that's different conversation than, hey, this wall's really out of square and I'm having a problem like installing it properly. Like, that's more of a you problem than a them problem.
Yeah.
And that's just something you kind of have to eat and maybe take on as like the cost of, tuition, learning how to figure that issue out. That's how I look at it, at least.
Are you going over to those? So you have your consultation call. Are you going over to the customer's house before you even start cutting anything, or start doing the design and stuff to be like, oh, this wall looks wonky? Or
I do, yeah. I start usually with a phone call, and it kind of depends on where, like, how did they reach out to me in the first place?
Yeah.
I try to ask that question too, like, how did you find me? Sometimes it's through social media. A lot of times it's through Google. But what I have done is realizing that, like, I can't always be available to answer a phone or email. And some people don't even want to reach out via certain channels. You kind of just want to be as available as you can in any different formats, right? So I created like a questionnaire. You can find that like a link on my social media, on my website, that says, like, hey, here's a link to fill out a questionnaire about a custom build. And that asks them things like, what type of project are you looking at? And there's things that they can select. Tell me the size of the wall or room where this is planning on getting built. Things along those lines. there's a budget question in there. I'm planning or budgeting on spending in 3 different categories. It's like, this range, and this range. And when I get those, one, I didn't do any additional work to go source that lead, but it gives me a lot of initial information. I can compare, like, hey, the wall length, I can basically calculate a linear foot price based on their submission and compare it to the budget that they submitted to say if they're like even in the ballpark. And that allows me to go, okay, maybe I'm certainly going to reach out to them, but I don't necessarily put a lot of stock into the request versus someone that's like, hey, this is a whole house, cabinet package, and here's my phone number. And I mean, someone who's reaching out about a whole house package for sure has done some research, and you're going to take that very seriously. But I think I forgot the original question. I'm sorry. Like, it was something.
Site visits.
Site visits.
Oh,
right.
site.
So
Yeah, do a site visit beforehand.
I'll take the initial, lead and try to have a conversation over the phone first and tease those things out. I might even do that consultation over the phone and try to get to that, like, what if it's not a budget question, like a specific, hey, what's your budget? I might try to tease that out another way, which is, how much are you looking to invest, in this project? Like, or something along the lines of, hey, I picked this up from another designer I met recently. Hey, have you done any other work in your house, like, in the last few years? And that might indicate whether or not they've actually spent money on having renovations done. But you can kind of use these like proxy type questions to indicate whether or not they've actually invested in their home. But once I've like pre-qualified them, then I'll say, hey, let's, if that number I just told you, that's a really broad sort of ballpark. If that doesn't scare them off, like, hey, do you want to have me come measure and kind of talk you through some other like real rough kind of design ideas and kind of kick it off that way?
So what's been one of the biggest builds? You said you came off of a big build. What we talking, a whole home? I mean, how long does something like that, did it take you?
I have not done a whole home. I would love to do that at some point. One of the biggest builds I have done actually was over a year ago, and it was a big mudroom, a big entire wall of locker, bench kind of builds. And that was interesting because I was still in my 2-car garage, and I was moving things as I built them into a storage unit to get it out of the way and free up space. And it actually was one of the faster builds. That one took probably about 4 weeks from beginning to end. I think the only thing that really sped that one up is they wanted it unfinished. They were going to have somebody come paint it afterwards. So you can kind of have a lot more room for error when you're not pre-finishing it and then installing it. But I just recently finished a big office build for somebody. Same kind of thing. That was installed unfinished, and then we had a painter come in afterwards and paint the entire room kind of the same color. I've now got a project that I'm about to start the cabinetry on, which is it's not really a kitchen. It's in the kitchen area, but it's a lot of cabinetry that's helping add storage and things like that. There's a mudroom component. It's several rooms in a house, not a whole home, but like several rooms on the main floor. And then I believe I have my first kitchen coming up right after that, which is exciting.
Now, do you take on just strictly cabinetry, or will you like drywall and all that kind of stuff, or that just cabinets? Even though you might have to repair a little bit when you're installing, but do you do you take it like what you did in your basement there? Would you?
No,
do that?
actually, I'll be completely honest with you. I did not do the drywall in the basement. I hired somebody, and it was probably the best money I ever
Attaboy.
spent.
Smart
Best
man.
money to spend.
Smart
Oh my
man.
God.
I did all the
I-
framing and everything else, but the drywall, I went,
Mhm.
I don't know. No, I have done some sort of drywall work in the past, and I think that was a mistake. Not because I didn't do it well, but because it took a long time, right? If you're thinking about like being a business owner, you want to be good and fast at doing really high quality work, and you have to kind of specialize. So you can't just be like, hey, yeah, sure, I'll do that, in order to try to sell the job. You might say, I'll take on the responsibility to do it, but then sub that part out. And so I'm working, that job where I was saying it's like the several rooms. I
think-
saw that comment.
and he's yelling it from down there. I think we're
Yeah.
all on the
Oh, yeah.
same page, because when I built this apartment here, Matt, I started hanging a few sheets, and it was quickly just, okay, I'm done. I'm calling somebody who knows how to do this crap. I mean, taping and mudding. I did this little piece here that I'm sitting in, and I hated my life. I knew I had learned from the apartment, and I was like, well, why the hell did I get myself into this again? And never, ever again will I do that. That will always be hired out.
I'm with you,
no,
man.
it's
My
totally
first
worth-
house, I did horsehair plaster. I removed the ceilings and the walls and redid all that. Oof. Never again.
Wow.
Never again.
This
It's
right-
hard work.
Yeah, this right here, just installing these French doors and realizing that they did the walls differently than I'd ever seen. They use like a foam to attach the sheetrock to the studs. And
Oh,
so
yeah.
yeah, so your walls are they're not the same thickness.
Oh,
Yeah,
interesting.
that was so weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
There are some areas in the country that they do glue the drywall up and they don't do the screws. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not anything I'm familiar with, but
No. But Joey, to your question, I have learned the hard way to like deflect certain things and say, I might take on the responsibility, but I'm not going to do that specific work, which is exactly what's going on with the job I'm in right now. Like I have guys that are in there doing the drywall and the finishing and the priming. And then I'm coming in behind that to say, okay, now I can take all my measurements to actually go build the cabinets. You make maybe a little bit extra money. You're not trying to be a GC, but you're kind of like taking on that responsibility. So you should probably get paid for that as well.
yeah, just have a small
Yeah,
sub
because they're
for-
going to come to
yeah.
you. They're going to come to you if
Right.
something goes wrong. You're the guy.
Mhm. Yeah.
Right.
You're the guy.
Your insurance, your licensing, all that stuff. So
And it's got to be nerve wracking. I mean, you see these guys come in here when they're doing this stuff. Of course, they do it every day, day in and day out. And it's like, they make it look so easy. And you're like, yeah, I could do that. No, you can't.
Mm-mm.
No, you can't. No.
yeah, it's not that
Oh
easy.
man, that drywall stuff that's
Mm-mm.
never. I learned my lesson on this. I don't know why I got myself into it again, but I did, and I'll never do it again. Nope. Even if it, like Tyler down there, it's an excuse to buy Plain-X. I don't want that Plain-X.
Mm-mm.
I don't care. I don't care. That's one tool I don't need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Katara is great.
He doesn't have one.
I've got one, and he does.
No, he doesn't.
He doesn't. He doesn't. I got one, but he doesn't.
I'm surprised Tyler doesn't have a Conturo.
Yeah.
No.
Seems
Those
I
are
think
real.
he has everything else.
Yeah.
He just doesn't
Yeah.
have a Conturo.
We bust them every time we get a chance to on not having the Contoro.
There's a story behind that Conturo, and I got to throw it in his face every time I get a chance to, because he was a heathen and he cut a track saw track up, and
Not
it's
just a track saw track, a brand new blue 100th anniversary track, like what's right behind Joey.
Yes.
Wow.
So now I hang one up here just to remind him of what kind of a person he is that he cut one up. Just kidding. Just got, it's fun thing. But we got anything else
John,
for him, or do we want to move into that? You got something?
I got two more questions. First one is, what question did we not ask you that you thought we'd ask you?
I didn't come with too many assumptions.
He knew it was crazy.
Well, we said
when he
we're not
started.
professional.
Oh no, you guys are professional. I've seen the way that you set up this up. It's very professional.
Except the beginning.
Yeah.
I think you started to touch on something, and maybe we could dive into that a little bit, which is maybe a little bit more about people who are interested in like a different path professionally than I would say the innumerable amounts of people who get enjoyment out of doing woodworking or making things and think it's only ever going to be a side hobby or hustle for them. And I would just say from like experience, it doesn't have to be that way. I think you have to educate yourself a little bit about how to make it work. But I got really inspired a couple years ago reading a book that's called The Power of Starting Something Stupid. And yeah, it's a great title. But the premise of the book, and it's kind of like there are a lot of people who you might tell, hey, I'm really interested in doing this and I want to do it kind of full time. And there's a ton of people who will say, that's stupid. That'll never work. And they just like poo-poo on your fun idea. And it goes through a lot of like really interesting, not woodworking specifically, but people who had that going on in their life, where the thing that really changed for them was believing that they were who they wanted to be. Like they decided in that moment. There's a like a really funny but really cool example of a girl, a woman who wanted to be a rapper, and she was, I think, a drug addict before that and in jail. And she decided, I'm going to be a rapper. And from there forward, that was her persona. I am a rapper. And she became let's just say a highly regarded rapper. Like, I don't remember like the details of her accolades, but she actually like made that happen because she believed what she could do. And she didn't it's probably like kind of like the Eminem sort of like backstory,
Yeah.
And there were other examples of people who said like, hey, I want to create this magazine that has in this topic, right? Well, that little side project turned into like millions and millions of dollars when that magazine actually hit the big time. And it was because they believed who they were. Like, you just decide, hey, I'm a whatever, and then you take on that personality and you go do it. And that like really changed my life, because at some point everybody has had that like imposter syndrome just hit them upside the head and go like, oh, I shouldn't be here. Like, this isn't, you should be wherever you want to be. Go do whatever you want to do. But I think there's a lot of people who like daydream about like doing something fun, like woodworking. And I know that from experience. I'm in another group that's all focused on building cabinets, and it's like 300 people wanting to learn how to build cabinets. And the topics that come up all the time are pricing. How do I price? And how do I actually go do this full time? Here's my plan. And sometimes it's like, forget the plan, just start doing it. If it's here's my 10-step plan to start the business. Just start the business. Like, you're not going to have it all figured out from day one. It's going to continue to evolve over time. You're going to have to make pivots. The thing is starting, taking the first step, and then just adapting to the things that happen.
You're
And then
never
you'll
going to ride
find-
the bike. You're never going to ride
Yeah.
the bike the first time until you try. And you may fall
Exactly.
and stumble a couple times, but you're going to eventually get it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah,
Along
you'll
the same-
eventually route your path out and, you know, keep the naysayers out of your head and just push them aside and focus, you know.
Right.
That's a good story. That
To
is.
There's
expand on that just a
Yeah.
little bit, John. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. To expand on that a little bit more, what is one piece of advice that you want to give someone like yourself who may be in a corporate environment and thinking about just starting that, maybe a piece of advice that either you didn't realize until you were already down that road, or maybe around the risk of starting something new? Just what advice could you leave those people with?
I think it's realizing that this is not meant to sound any specific way. I'll just start with that.
With all due respect.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Somebody listening to this at some point is going to go, I don't like that guy now. I'm not going to get political.
Way to
No.
go, Steve. Way
I'll
to go.
tell you, here it is. It might take me a minute to get to the point here, but like one thing I did this last year, because I've started to kind of really feel like the systems that we all live in are actually like this. And I told, not literally, but like I told my kids, like there's a movie I want you to see, and I'll explain why I wanted you to see this afterwards. And I showed them The Matrix, and I said, like, there's something real in life that you need to understand, and it's that like not everything is as it always seems, right? And so the way somebody sells something to you, wants you to buy something or get involved in something, it's not always for the reasons they say. And I think professionally that kind of thing is true too. Like there's a lot of people that are stuck in the mindset of I have to have a W-2, like I have to have a job. And there's probably a lot of people like me who were in that situation, and they have kind of a limited mindset. Like, well, I'm in the job right now that's paying me the most amount of money that I've ever made. And they probably don't realize that their opportunity to make more money, I'm not saying that that's the most important thing here, but just using that as an example, I might never make as much money as I am in my current job if I do this other thing. But the reality is you might make a heck of a lot more doing the thing that you want to do than just staying in the W-2 sort of situation.
Mhm.
And a little bit of that is like this limiting mindset of, well, it can't get better than this. Like it can get a lot better than that. And there's another, and I won't get the quote totally right. I think it's a Jim Carrey quote, who said something along the lines of, if you're not willing to sacrifice living below your current means in order to, live a life that you want to live, then you'll never know, or something like that. And I think I'm going through that right now, which is, am I making as much money right this second as I've ever made working at a job? No. But I think the potential for that to happen very soon is very real. And it will take a little time to get there. But one of those like limiting mindsets is I have to make as much money as I'm making right now. Like you might need to actually step back and figure out how to not to live at that level in order to fulfill a much higher calling, or, have a better opportunity in another couple years. You have to survive through that, but like that can be a reality for a lot of people. If you're working in a job, and they've vetted you to work at that company, you're a smart person. Like they know how to identify smart people.
Mhm.
And you can take that smarts that you have and do that for yourself.
Do you get up every
Great advice.
morning ready to go and enjoy what you're doing and you're happy?
I will say not every single day. Like there are definitely days where you're like, this is a hard situation.
Okay, let me
But, yeah.
rephrase that. Is it better than the corporate life?
Like not even 100%, 1,000% better, right? It doesn't mean that it's easier. It
Right.
is 1,000% more enjoyable because I have, the freedom to tackle the day as I want to tackle it. I don't have somebody second guessing me. Oh well, here's my idea to help this initiative. Well, here's like these 2 or 3 unstated reasons why we're not going to do that. And you just always feel like you're kind of spinning your wheels. Not everybody is going to have the same situation, but this was my experience. You kind of feel like you're spinning your wheels a lot in some of those jobs because of reasons you can't control, and you never will.
Right.
But when you apply that to like your own benefit, we're all very smart. Like you will struggle through certain situations, but you'll come out on the other end a lot happier.
I feel like
Okay.
jumping, like, making that switch.
Mhm.
Yeah, you're dabbling in it while you're doing your full-time job right now. And I don't know this to be true. I just know it from hearing it from other people. It's kind of like learning to swim.
Mhm.
Keep your hand on the side the whole entire time. You never know if you really can swim or not.
Right.
You just know that you got your hand over there. You got the safety net sitting there the whole entire time until you take both hands off and swim across the pool. Do you know whether or not you can swim? And you're going to run into problems where you probably, but yeah,
Right there.
yeah,
Right there. Corey summed
Right
it up
there.
pretty well.
there you go.
So I got one last question for you, John, and then we can move on. Who do you think we should have as a guest on the show? Putting him on the spot.
I don't know who you've had on the show.
Doesn't
There's been
matter.
A couple people
Doesn't
that you've
matter.
mentioned, but who else should you have?
Yeah. Like if you could think of one person that you think should be on the show.
Are you guys familiar with Josh Norco?
I'm not.
His handle on Instagram is Northeast Woodworks. That's his business name. He's a cabinet builder, custom cabinet builder. I joined a group that he put together. It's called Cabinet Mastery. It's actually been really insightful, and there's a lot of varying like experience levels in cabinet building. But he's got a really good thing going, and I won't spoil his story. If you have him on, listen to his story. It's amazing.
I don't recognize the name, but I know the handle. I do follow him on IG. Yep. Now that you say that, Northeast Woodworks. Yeah. Okay.
We'll have to go and check.
We'll
him
have
out.
to go check
Appreciate
that out.
That lead.
Yeah,
It's always
Yeah.
interesting.
He would be
talking
really
to
good.
people.
That's awesome. So stick around. We just got a couple administrative things that we're going to do, and feel free to jump in.
Cool.
All right. We're going to do our Patreon giveaway for the month. And our sponsor, Forge 3D, has graciously donated a $100 gift certificate to his shop to buy some of those amazing products that he has out there. So let me get this set up. I should already had this done, but again, we're not professional here. So
One job. You had one job, Joey.
one job, and I'm trying to invite other people on here. Hold on, let me get this share screen.
We did the setup in the beginning.
Yeah, but I'm trying to pick the screen out of the 100 that I've got open, but we're gonna get it. We're gonna get it. All right. So we're gonna do a reverse drawing, and let's just have a little fun. So the last man standing wins.
these names.
What's the video?
Awkward.
Oh,
What?
it's Ned. It's Ned.
Uh-oh, he gone.
He's gone. Yeah, we can. Why is it? Oh, there's a video down there. Look at that.
Yes, there is. Yes, there is. Professional. It's like we've done this once or
And
twice.
this thing's taking forever. Maybe should have rigged it to. I think you can adjust this thing to.
Well, like speed wise.
Yeah. Boring.
Let's do some dead audio.
Y'all can talk.
Good.
Y'all can make funnies or something. Hey, Ron. See ya. Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo.
Oh, those are nice too.
Doo-doo-doo. Man, we need some music or something.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Potato.
Potato
Mr.
head.
Potato Head. Scotty.
Uh-huh.
It's potato. Potato.
It's a potato.
Later. JR, see ya.
See ya.
I wanted to rename some of our Patreon members, but Mustache advised me not to do it, but I'll have to ask him if it's okay before I do it, because I don't want to offend anybody. I think it would have been funny, but Mustache didn't think so, and I don't know why, because it would have been hilarious, and at least in my head. Oh, look at that guy.
Mm-hmm.
So how does this work? All
So
these
the
names
last man
written?
standing wins.
Oh.
And it's all these different individuals get their name put on there, like Mr. Prusa. What the heck was that?
You got audio for one spin?
It's just catching up. My internet's just catching up. Sorry.
It's Whisker Internet.
Whisper.
Cat whiskers are on there. Come on.
So, John, while we're watching this riveting wheel spin, where'd the name come from for the business?
Mr. Leaves. That's Mr. Fitzsimmons.
You're right, Steve. That is a question I should have asked you to ask me. So I went through a list of names. This went back to kind of like the business school marketing class. Like,
Yep.
what do you want to evoke from somebody when they see the brand, right? And I had written down all these different things, right, that were things that I wanted people to think of when they thought of the company before it was named. And so I had a list of names, and one of them that I put on there goes back to this. It's kind of a joke with my wife. There was one morning, I think it was probably November, December timeframe. I sat up out of bed and I look out the window right to the right of my bed. And normally it's just tons of trees and leaves, but there's no leaves on the trees. And I can see all the way down this road, and I see a glimmer on the water. And I went, honey, I think we have water view. Like, I think our property value just went way up, And so that's kind of where it came from, is like this, like I live right near the Severn River, the same river where like the Naval Academy is further down, the Chesapeake Bay Bridge is right there. And that's what it ended up being named, Severn View Custom Woodworks. And the logo has a little bit to do with like the market, right? Like, who would I want to attract to my business? It's the people who have the ability to pay for a high-end product. So they might see a sailboat from their water view, the Severn View. So that's kind of where the name came from.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
I think we're going to have to ask our Patreon members if they just want to go with one spin and be done, because as we grow, this is going to get too long.
Yeah.
I'm for that at this point.
Or we could do a pre-spin. We could do like a pre-spin and fast forward it and then inject it in. I don't know.
It all comes in.
Yeah.
Mr. Tito's and Pineapples is gone.
Oh, Mike.
Oh gosh. I didn't it used to go quicker.
Yeah, everyone
John,
Oh,
else.
you got
anything you want to
another
ask
story?
us?
Please.
What are you guys all working on right now?
Oh, what are we working on? Well, Joey's working on getting a winner, but outside of that,
Well, you know, as much I got to say something here. As much as Steve gave us this outline, he totally went off the rails on that because I'm like, we totally missed that whole section, and I'm
he
like,
jumped
dude,
like 4
you are
rows
the
down.
yeah, you are the
I
publisher.
noticed that too.
Okay.
You are the publisher. I was about to stop you and say, "Hey, dude, you're messing me completely up. You took me off. I'm going down. I may have not read the stuff right, but you totally missed the section."
It's true. It's true. I totally, yeah. I was kind of waiting for you to jump in, but that didn't happen, and I may have just ran right through that. But I think it's for the better, right? We got to talk to John a little bit earlier and everything. But for me, I don't really have a whole lot of stuff on a build standpoint at the moment. I just ordered up a table for my drill press, and that came in yesterday. I think I'm gonna do a video on that, and I got a keyless chuck that I'm gonna switch out for that, and I have a Nova Voyager drill press, and a couple weeks ago they put out an upgrade to the screen on that. It's all variable speed, and you can dial it everything in. They come out with an upgrade for a color touch screen. So I'm waiting for that to come in. I think they're going to start shipping those in a week or two. So I'm planning on kind of doing a little upgrade to that. But beyond that, I've still got like 4 guitars that are all in various, finished states that I really need to finish up. And I got to finish up the drawer fronts on my miter station build. So that's kind of, I don't know, the next week or so of activity for me.
That's awesome. Steve, do you do a lot of your guitar like bodies on the CNC?
Not yet. That is where I am hoping to get. Full disclosure, I built my first guitar about 10 years ago at a weekend class. It was a Friday, Saturday, Sunday at a local woodcraft store through US Guitars, US Kit Guitars. I did that one. And then in April of last year, I went out to Mark Adams School of Woodworking out in Franklin, Indiana, and I took a 7-day class with the instructor John Ressler, and learned how to do a acoustic guitar from scratch. First one was a kit. Second one was from scratch. And then in the fall, I took a guitar class locally for making a T-style or Telecaster style, Fender Telecaster style electric guitar, which that is in the that's got to be finished. I got to do finish sanding, and then that's actually got to be put together for the first time. So I got all the paint and everything. I'm kind of waiting for it to warm up a little bit up here so I can kind of paint that out in the garage, because that's going to be a little bit more of something that I don't want to spray in the basement. So my hope is that this year I am going to end up doing a bunch of electric guitars on the CNC, the Onefinity. I spent like the last week and a half watching YouTube University and trying to learn how to do Fusion 360, and I've found some really good videos out there. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm going. So, and it looks like
That's
we're
awesome.
down to the last 2.
Who's it gonna be?
It's gonna be Dawn.
Looks like it's going to be Dawn. Congratulations, Dawn.
Winner, chicken dinner.
There you go.
Congrats.
Time that one perfect.
Okay.
There we go.
There you go.
That's awesome.
All right, Don. You can Tyler's down there. I think it would have been funny if Tyler would have won his own.
I was just thinking. I was looking at that spin,
I
and I'm
forgot
like,
to
we
not put his name in
probably
there.
should have. Yeah, we probably should have omitted him.
He's
from
probably
that.
yelling at us. He's probably yelling at
Yeah.
us. Sorry, bud. I'm surprised he hasn't messaged me yet and told me why is my name in there. Oh man. But
That's great.
do we want to get done with that last little segment of what's in the
Yes.
what are we doing? Who's
Yes.
next?
Yeah.
Go, Matt. I'll go last. Go, Matt.
Okay. So what I got going on in the shop right now is I'm pouring concrete countertops. I'm waiting for about 7 days before I flip them over and start doing some grinding on those and get them polished up to about 10,000 grit. And then I also got some more dust collection put in for the Festool extractor. And then I used the Oneida separator, and then the the Wackerle dust right hose reel, and ran it overhead so therefore it's dropping down on top of where I'm sanding at and stuff like that, so that I ain't got hoses all in my way. I hate that. So got that done. Got trim done on these French doors that I installed, which was the thickness. That's where the thickness came in on the sheetrock. I mean, it was all over the place, but luckily my wife is a caulk queen, so she helped me out a lot on that. Yeah, with a U. But that's what I got going on right now, and then I will be starting my table for my my build for my assembly table pretty soon. So that's it. That's what I got going on. What about you there, Mustachio?
Let's see. I got some of I got all the accessories for the laser in. I got the rotary, a honeycomb bed, and the light burn camera. And I had a model of the CNC bench table in SketchUp, and I had the laser kind of like on a drawer that was coming out. I'm glad I didn't start building that, because it turns out the light burn camera needs like 15.5 inches above the bottom of the laser bed. So that cavity needs to be the full height. So I finished designing that model, and probably get to building that hopefully this week. Works freaking crazy right now. I got a huge project that I got a deadline for. So got a hole in my roof somewhere. Water's frozen above the ceiling. I am super excited about it. But we'll figure out what's going on.
Question on that: are you sure that it's a hole in your roof and not a condensation from lack of insulation?
I insulated that. And
Want me to rephrase that question, or
it's detached.
I want you to know that off camera, my fingers are doing something to you.
You're number one, man.
It's not. I don't think it's like a sweating issue, like where you're going with that.
okay.
It's something. It's something coming through.
Looked like there was a fair amount of ice there too.
Oh, I had a good solid icicle coming out of the soffit.
Yeah, never a good thing.
No. You shouldn't have icicles there.
No, can't park
so
there.
I did shovel part of the valley that leads up to there on the roof, and I gotta finish cleaning off the solar panels and stuff. But yeah.
Do you have attic area, or is it crawl space in there that you can get up and at least look?
Very skinny. No, right above where I think it's it's coming in. It's just the ceiling and then insulation and then the roof. So that specific spot right there, no. I can come in from the shop up above there, but I'll probably be ripping the ceiling down here shortly. So that's it for me. Over to Joey.
I finished up the wall and got the CNC moved, and gonna start moving all the machines back and hopefully finally uncrate the metal lathe after a nice marination period and start getting everything set up. So that's where I'm at. Finally, everything's done on that end. Windows are framed. Start running some power to get all those machines back online. So
Nice.
fun.
Mhm.
Set all that up. But that's about all what's going on over here.
Cool.
Anyhow, I'm gonna flip on over. Go ahead.
I was just going to announce our top tier right quick here. Some of our awesome people on Patreon. I would like to call out our top tier. We have Don from What's Next Woodworking, Victor from Whim Designs, Tyler from Forge 3D, Steve from Steve I Designs, Mike from Lido's Wood Shop, and last but not least, Jonathan from John 4225. We thank them and all of the other patrons that are helping us with this. And once again, if you want to support the podcast, you can go over to supportcmp.com. That will bring you to our Patreon. And we thank you in advance.
And real quick, all the Patreon members, if y'all go over to the Discord and let us know if y'all are okay with us just one and done spin, because this is going to take too long, or we need to come up with a better way to do that so we don't take up 30 minutes. But anyhow, thank you, John, for taking time out and joining us. We appreciate it.
Yes,
Great
thank you.
time.
For having me.
Yep. And
Let's tell everybody where they can find you online.
Yeah,
Oh,
sure.
yes.
So my Instagram handle is Severn View Custom Woodworks. So it's whatever the Instagram.com/Severn View Custom Woodworks. You can also go to my website, which is www.severnviewcustomwoodworks.com.
Nice.
And those links are down below in the description to live there forever. So y'all can just tap on those and get on over there and go follow him. He does some amazing work. We like to thank everybody that hung out with us today in the chat. We appreciate the support. And just remember to head on over to those audio podcasts like Spotify and iTunes and download. We've been seeing an increase, which is awesome. Love to see those numbers go up. Means we're doing something good. May not be professional, but we're doing something good, I guess.
Like and subscribe.
Yeah. And make sure you hit that thumbs up button on this show. And it really would appreciate if once this ends, let it end and then come back and leave us a comment. Let us know what you thought about it. And remember, if you have anything that you would like us to talk about, if you're a Patreon member, put that down on the Discord, or you can email us at creativemakerspodcast@gmail.com. And yeah, for all scroll call questions, please revert to Mr. Steve I. He will answer everything for you. And on that note, we will see y'all next week. Bye-bye.